welcome back to another video. So today I have the Artify 48 set of alcohol markers. The company reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to review these and share them with all of you, and so that is what we're going to do today. And of course, you all know I like to unbox everything with all of you, and so I still have it in the box that it came in. It did come in another box that was an Amazon box, and then this box was inside that box. So this one has already been opened, and then you can see how nicely packaged these come with this gorgeous ribbon on here that says Artify. We are just going to pull these out of here. So as you can see, these are wrapped really, really beautifully. I don't think I've gotten any other markers that come like this or anything else that has come like this from Amazon, but they are wrapped in this gorgeous ribbon here that says Artify on it with the pretty bow at the top, and then they do have the brown wrapping around the box as well. So let's go ahead and open these up and take this ribbon off of here. That is really cool though. I've never seen anything else wrapped like that that has come from Amazon. And now we just need to get off the brown wrapping. Oh, I'm excited already. They come with swatch charts. I was wondering if I was going to have to create one or if it would come with one so that I could swatch out all of these markers for y'all. So we're going to go ahead and get these open and we're going to take a look at them. And if you check the description box, as always, whatever you see in this video that I am using, I will always have that linked down in the description box below, as well as links down there for my Etsy shop, my email list, my Facebook group, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. So before we go ahead and open the box, let's go ahead and see here what came inside. So we do get the swatch chart, which is really nice because it makes it much easier on me. I don't have to go print something out and pull out my marker paper and everything else. Let's see about the paper here. So the paper is a little bit smoother, so that's good because smoother paper is always great when you're working with alcohol markers rather than something toothier like you would use if you were using colored pencils. So it just comes here with this swatch chart. This is the 48 basic set. This is the colors that are included. Ooh, look at all these pretty pastel colors over here. Those are gorgeous. It looks like they are coded with the letters and the numbers like a Copic would be, or if you've seen my Ohuhu review, the Ohuhus are coded like this as well. So the B would mean blue, and then we have the numbers here on each one of them. But it looks like the order that they're in, these here would blend together really, really beautifully, and then these here as well. We've got some beautiful greens over here that look like they would blend together beautifully. And it looks like we get quite a few grays too, and a black, and this set does come with a blender. When you get these swatch charts that are included in any boxed set that you receive, they're not always going to be exact. So we will be swatching these out so we could see what the exact colors are that are included in this set. And then if we open it up, it just shows us the basic steps to blending alcohol markers and tells you exactly how to do it. So that's really, really neat. I've not seen that in many other alcohol marker sets. Oh, and then look at this. They have a user guide of stickers, and it says lay the sticky notes flat. So these must be the stickers here. Paint to the sticker and stick it on the marker according to the instructions. So you would just take the color and swatch it out and then peel the sticker off, and then take the sticker and put it right at the tip of your markers. So that would make it much easier to see what the actual color is. That is a really neat idea. And I'm sure for other sets that you have, if you liked that idea, you can purchase stickers just like these on Amazon and do it to any other marker set like your Ohuhus or your Cali Arts or whatever other budget-friendly set of alcohol markers you're using. I'm sure that you could do that with any of them. That is a really good idea because I know for sets that are much bigger than a set like this that only comes with 48 markers, I tend to get very, very overwhelmed because there's so many colors. So I may actually do that with some of my other sets. That is a really great idea, and I love that they actually give you everything to be able to do that with. And then here is the swatch chart. And so I think this is what we're going to use to go ahead and swatch out our colors. So this is the back of the box, and on the back of the box, it does show us a picture here of what the markers look like. These markers are going to be the fine tip, which looks like this, and then the broad tip, which looks like this, and we'll take a closer look at that when we get the box opened and take a look at the markers. This is the 48 basic color set, one of Artify's expert series. We have founded pastel colors tropical colors, and boho colors in 3 different color collections. Each set contains 48 markers consisting of 47 selected colors and a blender. So each one of those sets that are available on Amazon in these different collections, they're all going to come with 47, and then you'll get the blender, which is how they come up with the 48. So you're going to get a separate blender in each one of those sets. 48 basic color set, 80 enhanced color set, and 120 ultra color set were finally released after months of repeating, screening, and proofreading. The total colors all together are going to be 226 colors. So that is quite a lot. And then down here it shows you the tips that are on these markers. So like I said, you get the broad tip and the fine tip, and here's what they look like. And we're going to go ahead and open the box so we can actually see what they look like on the markers. This very much reminds me of the Color It set that I just recently reviewed, but I don't think that this opens up here. I don't want to damage my box or anything, but on the Color It set, it opened up here so that you could tuck this down underneath, and then they laid on their side just like this. And I always recommend that you do lay your markers on your side, because the alcohol ink that's on the inside is laying more so like this, so it is keeping both ends of the marker saturated so that neither one of the sides dries up. But it looks like they are letter coated and number coated, and we do have a black. And then where is our blender? Our blender is actually over here. So let's go ahead and pull one of these out and take a look at the markers. Oh, I love the shape of these. These are a little bit different than some of the others that I've seen. They're sort of wider here in the middle, and then they get thinner as they come out towards the ends. And this end here is actually thinner than this end over here. So they do have the color tips, and then it has the code here, so the letter and the number, and of course the G stands for green. This one is G535. And then over here, it's going to show you that this is the broad tip, and then this side is the fine tip. Let's see how easily these come off. Oh, they come off really easily. Oh, these are really not... These are very different. Oh my goodness, I love these. Look at that. That is very different from most of the broad tips that I've seen. Let me turn it here a little bit so y'all can see how that's different. But it's a broad tip, and then it sort of comes to a point. And so it's not a really thick broad tip. Let me grab one of my other broad tips so that you could see the difference in that. So here's one of my CaliArt markers, and here is the Artify marker. And if you look at the broad tip on the CaliArt marker, it is much different. You see how it sort of comes in a little bit smaller here at the tip, but then it is much wider, and this one is much thinner. I would imagine on your coloring pages that would make it much easier to get into the small areas, even with the broad tip. Hopefully you can see that on camera. I'm trying to turn it here so that you can really see the difference, and hopefully it helps. But that is really cool because I've never seen another alcohol marker, especially one of the budget brands, that are actually shaped in that way. And then this is the fine tip, and the fine tip looks, I think, like your typical fine tip. Since I compared the other side, we'll go ahead and compare that one to the CaliArt as well. So those tips are the same. So this one is the Artify. You could see the name there on the marker. And then this one here is the CaliArt. But the tips look very much the same. And then you could see also how different the barrels are on each one of these. So this is my CaliArt marker. The Artify, you could see, is more like an oval shape. And then I went and grabbed an Ohuhu marker as well, so you could see the difference in that one. But the Ohuhus are more of a round shape. But that is the difference in some of the other markers that you can get off of Amazon. So they have the company name on this side. It says Art Marker Born for Drawing. It shows the 2 different tips here. And then over here on this side, it's going to have the letter and the number, which is the same as the tip right here. And then it just tells you the color, and this is Palm Tree Green. So let's go ahead and put this back in here, and I'm going to go over some of the sets that are available as well as the pricing. This particular set here, this 48 basic set, this is available on Amazon for $29.99. It is on Prime 1-day shipping for me, so it may be for you as well. And then we have a 48 set of boho colors, and that set is $37.99. Then we have a 48 set as well of the pastel colors, and the pastel colors are going to be $35.99. And then the tropical set, which is also going to have 48 colors, so like I said earlier, 47 colors and a blender, they are going to be $35.99. So Artify does have many different sets available. They do also have their classic sets available, which comes in the 80 basic colors marker set, a 40 colors brush marker set, and an 80 color brush marker set. And then they have 108 colors, which is a brush marker set as well, and that is part of their classic series. And then these different sets here, all of the 48 sets that I mentioned, the boho and the tropical and the basic, they are all part of their newly released expert series, which also come in the 80 set and then the 120 set. And they also do mention on their Amazon listing, the marker nibs are actually reversible. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch these out now, but I did want to show you something really cool about this box. It is a little bit different than the Color It box, but this little flap here does fold back so that you can rest these sideways just like this. It sort of just lays back here on my desk, and then this part goes flat, so they're facing up at an angle like this, so that when you're choosing your colors, you could just sort of grab them out of here, which is really, really nice. I love these boxes that they're putting these alcohol markers in now. I loved the way that the Color It one was set up, and I love the way that this one is set up. The Color It one was a little bit different because you had to pull this part of your box back, and then you would take this flap and you would tuck it in. But I think I like this even better because I don't feel like I'm taking my box apart or messing it up in any way. And this just folds back and then goes under. So I'm going to set these off to the side, and we are going to start swatching these out so we could see all of the gorgeous colors that come in this set. Okay, so I wanted to pop in here before I started swatching these because y'all know how impressed I was by this different type of tip here on these. And so I went to the website to see if they had mentioned anything about the way the tip is much different from anything else I've seen. So it does mention that apparently they got together with artists to help create this nib. Apparently this exclusive broad tip that has the wider blade and thinner cutting edge than normal chisel nibs is exclusive to these Artify markers, and it's supposed to make it more flexible and easier to control. It also mentions that this innovation alone helps to accomplish precise details, clear texture, and large streak-free coverage with ease. The nibs at both ends are made of material that feels softer, smoother, and rubbery. So I really want to test this out in a coloring book to see how these nibs are different than the typical broad nibs that I would get on another one of my markers. And if you would like to see me do that in a future video, please let me know. But I just think that is really super, super cool. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I did say that I thought that this would make it much easier to use them in a coloring book because of how thin they are right here at the tip. I think that is just really super, super cool. And I was surprised because I had never seen anything else like that. And I guess this is what sets them aside from some of the other budget-friendly sets that you can find on Amazon. But I would really like to see if that makes a difference and would love to try that out in my coloring books. So if you would like to see that, please do let me know. So let's go ahead and get all these colors swatched out on the swatch chart. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up to music. The way I'm going to do this is I am going to just look up here. This is going to be B210, baby blue. So that is the color that I'm going to put down here. And it doesn't look like they are in this order here inside the actual case. So I'm going to have to just be picking around and trying to find the right colors, which is fine. But we're going to go ahead and swatch these out now, and I'm going to speed it up, and then I'll come back and we'll do a review of the colors. a swatch of all the colors, and I just want to talk a little bit about these. They, first of all, were very, very juicy. They really, really were. And the way they went down on the paper was actually very, very nice. This is a smoother paper, this swatch chart that comes with the Artify markers. And that broad tip that I used to lay these colors down, I really, really loved that nib and how it was so different from any other marker that I have used. If you were watching while I was swatching the colors out, you can see that on some of them where there was some white left, I was able to go back in and just really precisely with even that tip without even switching to the fine tip. I was able to very easily just go back and fill in some of that. I didn't do it on all of them. I only did it on some of them. Here I got a little bit sloppy. That was my fault. It had nothing to do with the markers. I tried to be a little bit more precise once I started getting down here towards the bottom, but it's just a swatch chart. If I was working on a coloring page, of course, I would have been much more particular, but I did find that with that broad nib on these, I was able to be much more precise. And when I laid the colors down in some areas where they overlapped, you can still see a pretty smooth transition there. And I know a lot of you are going to ask me if these markers smell. Every time I do a review on alcohol markers, no matter what alcohol markers it is, everybody asks me, do they smell? Because I know a lot of people have adverse reactions to the smells that come from alcohol markers. I did notice that a couple of them smelled, not all of them did. I found it in a couple of the yellows and one of the blues, but I really didn't smell anything that was really strong coming from any of the other colors. And even those, it was not really, really strong. It was just like your typical alcohol marker smell. And the other thing that I want to mention with these is usually when I'm doing a swatch of any of my markers or I'm coloring a coloring page, I have to really look and see which end is which, and if I'm pulling the fine tip or the broad tip on my markers, or if I'm using my brush markers, if I'm going for the brush marker or whatever is on the other end of the marker. And with these, I didn't have to do that because if you look at these, you can see that they are shaped very differently down here where the fine tip is, as opposed to where the broad tip is. They're fatter on this end. And so I was able to just pick them up and I knew exactly which end to go with without even having to look at the marker and check it to see if I was pulling the right end of the marker or pulling the cap off the right end of the marker. And I really liked that about these. I really do like these markers. I definitely want to use these in a coloring book. But let's go ahead and take a look at these colors. And the first thing that I do want to say about these colors, with a set of 48, you are getting a really great array of colors. And I'm sure if you were to purchase the other 48 sets, you would probably find that the other colors that came in the other sets fit in nicely with these. But these, even if you were to purchase just these, I feel like you get a really good array of colors. Most of the time we are missing out on reds and purples in a lot of sets. And if you look at this set, I have a purple here, a darker purple here, a purple here. We get our typical purples mixed in with pinks. We still get our regular pinks. And then if you look down here, we do get a few reds. We get some reds more on the orangey side. We get some red here that has a lot of brown in it. So you do still get quite a few reds here in this set. And I find a lot of sets usually are lacking in reds. We still get quite a few greens. We get some gorgeous blues. We get our teals, which is, to me, very important in every set. We do get a lighter blue, and we even get a lighter teal, which I absolutely love. We get quite a few yellows, and we get some yellows with different undertones, which is great. And look at these gorgeous pale pinks you get. So you get these really pale, pale pinks. You get this pink here, you get another pink here, and then we get our pinks that have a lot of purple in them. And check out all of the grays you get in this set. You're going to get your cooler grays down here, and we get 3 of them. And then if you look down here, you also get 3 warm grays. And so you have just enough grays from your cool grays and your warm grays to be able to blend them together. which is really, really great. Now these two here, they do look very, very close. This one is definitely darker than this one, but they are pretty close. But you could blend this one, I'm sure, with this one, or even this one with this one, or use all three together, and then we get a black. And I didn't even swatch out where the blender would have gone because the blender is just clear and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But you do get a really great array of colors in this set. Okay, so before we get into the blend test, I wanted to show y'all something on these markers because I wanted to show you that usually you cannot really always depend on the swatch charts that come with your colored pencil sets, your alcohol marker sets, or what have you. So I wanted to see actually how close these are. I picked my colors for my blend test, and I picked teals because they're one of my favorite colors. And I thought there were some really pretty teals in this set. I have B635, B514, and B502. And the first thing I want to mention is I really like how you could look at these and really be able to tell which one is the darkest, which one is the medium tone, and which one is the lightest, because I struggle with a lot of my more budget-friendly markers where I will pull the colors and I have to constantly keep looking at them, because even on my Ohuhu markers, if I pull them out, I have to keep going back and checking the number and making sure that I have the right color in my hand. And there have been many times where I have put the wrong color down on my coloring page because the darker one looks lighter and the lighter one looks darker when you actually look at the tip of the marker. And with these, you could clearly tell which is which. And so I feel like that's going to make it a lot easier. And I don't know, so far I'm really, really liking these markers. And I don't know if they're going to end up being my most favorite budget-friendly marker, but I think that they are really coming in here close. Of course, I would have to play with them a lot more before I determine that. Right now, my favorites for brush markers are my Ohuhu set, but sometimes they get very overwhelming because I have 216 colors. I feel like this 48 set would be a really great starter set for somebody just getting started with alcohol markers because the color range is wonderful, and the colors that you could put together and blend together, even here on the swatch chart that it comes with, all of the colors that can be blended together easily are still within color families here on this swatch chart. You got your blues over here, your greens over here, some reds down here, all of your grays are together, your pinks are together. So I think that is really neat. And then you do get this swatch chart if you're not somebody who wants to swatch. Of course, there's only 48 colors, so it wouldn't take you that much time to swatch out your colors. But if you're somebody who doesn't like to swatch your colors, I wanted to be able to look at this and see how closely these are a match. So let's go ahead and see what colors we have here. This is B635. So let's test out the B635 first and see how close that is. Okay, so to me that one really doesn't match because the one here on the swatch chart that is the digital version of it, or digital copy, looks like it has a little bit more green in it. Let's go ahead and check this one. This one is 514, so that one is rather close. And then this one is 502, and that one is pretty close too. And I'm not going to check them all, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how close this is. So one of them was pretty, I don't know, to me pretty far off, but these two were pretty close. So I'm sure if 2 out of the 3 were pretty close, I'm sure you would find a lot more on here that were fairly close. Let's go ahead and try just one more. Let me go ahead and pull this, what is this, Y002. So the Y002 is down here, and on this one it's very, very light. And on the tip of this marker, it's actually much darker. So let's go ahead and look at this and see how close my swatch on here is to the tip of the marker. So we've got Y002, so that tells me this one is Y002, and it is actually much darker than what the swatch is. So it's really important to swatch out your colors. And so I just wanted to show you that so you could see why it's important to swatch out your colors. Let's go ahead and see how close these tips are that I'm going to use for my blend test as opposed to the colors that are swatched out here on my chart. So let's go ahead and check out B514. So B514, it's going to be one of these here. It's this one. So that's B514, and it's actually much darker on the swatch. This one is 635, so that's this one here, and again, it's much darker on the swatch. And then this one here is 502, and that one is pretty darn close. But as you can see, you're not going to find that with all of them. So that's why it's important to swatch out your colors for any colored pencil set, any marker set, or any other medium that you may have, because unless you're working with artist grade mediums, you are going to find that it is very important that you swatch something out, because the tip of the pencil or the marker is not always going to match up to your swatch chart. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to remove all of the tops on each one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my lightest color, and I'm going to lay some of this down here. Then I'm going to come in with my mid-tone, and then my darkest. And then I'm going to come in here and try to blend some of these out a little bit better. And then my mid-tone, and I'm going to blend that in there. And then we're just going to go backwards again. And then come back with my lightest and try to blend some of that out. I think that was pretty good for alcohol markers. And when you're using alcohol markers, you always need to make sure that you get enough of the ink down on the paper. You need to make sure that you're using paper that is smoother so that you can get a smoother transition. And when you're using alcohol markers, you need to make sure that you're using colors that are pretty close to one another. They're not like colored pencils. So y'all know how I love to test out my colored pencils all the time, and of course I'm a colored pencil girl, and that's part of the reason I love colored pencils so much, is because I could take any color from any color family and I can make it work. With alcohol markers, that's a lot more difficult to do. You really need to get 3 colors that are pretty close to one another in the same color family, and I feel like you get that with this set. If you look here, you can see that these 3 colors I used, they don't have a huge difference in the values of the colors. They do from the darkest to the lightest, but the darkest color is pretty close to the mid-tone, and the mid-tone is pretty close to the highlight still. There is a more dramatic difference between the mid-tone and the highlight color, so you could see the transition a lot more with those. But here between the darkest one and the mid-tone, where the value of the 2 colors was a lot closer, we had a much smoother transition. So one of the other things that I forgot to mention that I did want to say about these that I really, really liked is that with a lot of my more budget-friendly alcohol markers, I will find that they leak, and I will end up getting a lot of the ink all on the barrel of my markers. And I did not find that with any of these in this set at all. Usually I'll go to use it and then I notice that there is a little bit of leaking, and I didn't notice that with any of these at all. How about we go ahead and try to blend together the other side, or the fine tip, and see how those blend together, just since we didn't use it yet. And we'll go ahead and use the same colors. Okay, so with alcohol markers, I like to use my lightest color first. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to lay my mid-tone right over the top of that, and then my darker color over the top of that one. And then I like to come back and just blend that out so that they come together seamlessly. And I did that with the lightest color. Oops. So let's come back and lay the mid-tone down, and then come back with the lightest color. And if you really blend in at that transition area, you will find that these markers will come together seamlessly. See how that just came right together? If I come back over to this one and just wet it a little bit more and go over that transition again, look how much nicer that comes together. See how it just smoothed out that transition after I got a little bit more of the alcohol ink down there on the paper. But these blend together rather nicely. I really like these. And I really, really love this hammer mill paper. If you want to print out your coloring pages and you want to play around with alcohol markers, this is a fantastic paper. I'll make sure that it's linked down in the description box below, and it does go through my printer very, very nicely. I have so many of you all the time asking me what printer I use. And gosh, I can't think of the name of it right now. It is a Office Pro, I think, or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and link my printer down in the description box below as well, because I have so many people all the time asking me what printer I'm using, because it does print out on this paper very well. I've even put watercolor paper into my printer, very thick watercolor paper, one day when I had to film a video where I was reviewing watercolors, and it printed wonderfully on the watercolor paper as well. It has taken anything I've put at it, and it is wonderful. If you're a colorist and you want to just print out your coloring pages and you want to use several different mediums, or you want to use different mediums together, the printer I have is absolutely wonderful. So I just went and looked, and it's an HP OfficeJet Pro 8025. And I've had it for over a year, so there probably is a newer version of it out there now. So I will try to find that on Amazon, and I will put a link down there in the description box below so that y'all could easily find it. I hope y'all enjoyed this review of the Artify 48 set of basic colors. And I really, really enjoy these. And I'm thinking now I really want to get the other sets of these markers. I just love the broad tip on that marker. I think it is really super, super cool. Anytime I get any sort of alcohol markers, I always love when they come with their own swatch chart, because I like to keep my swatch chart with my alcohol markers and not necessarily in my binder where I keep all of my colored pencil swatch charts. I like to keep all of that separate. So that part is really handy to me, and I love the way that these markers are shaped. I love that I can easily identify just by feeling them, because the side with the fine nib on it is thinner, and then the side with the broad tip is much thicker. And I really love that about them. I love that they are coded by the proper letters and numbers. I love the storage case that they come in. I love that I could put them just like this, if you could see this over here, but I love that I could put them just like this and turn the flap right underneath, and then they just are easily accessible, and I could just pull out the colors that I want and easily spot them. If you check the description box down below, I will have everything down there that you've seen in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Happy coloring. Bye.